What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my Week 7 New Year's Six Bowl projections for the 2023 college football season. Yesterday, I gave you my playoff projections. You can go back and watch that video if you have not seen it yet. And now we're going to give you my New Year's Six Bowls heading into Week 7, also known as the second half of the 2023 college football season. And before I start this video, I will have a quick announcement here to make. If you've seen the new thumbnails here on this channel, that means I've changed them. I've created new thumbnails here on this channel, and I kind of wanted to, make those just because some of you probably don't know what kind of video I'm doing. It's basically a college football video, and I've kind of changed the thumbnails and also kind of made it better quality so y'all can see the thumbnails a little bit better. So just wanted to clear that up here on this channel. That was the change there I made here, also to my New Year's Six Bowl thumbnail and everything. But again, back to the video here. Basically, we're focusing on 4 out of the 6 New Year's Six Bowl games, and then the other 2, New Year's Six Bowls are playoff semifinal matchups, so we're going to put them in here as well. And mostly this is going to be just based off of how the teams played from this past weekend. And looking back to last weekend, we did have a whole bunch of great games, and, we've made some changes here to my New Year's Six Bowls based off of what happened. So we're going to get right into my New Year's Six Bowls. Again, this is Week 7 now. We're heading into the second half of the college football season, and some teams are fighting, for some bowl game spots. So New Year's Six Bowls, again, are very different this year. They're really, tough to project and everything. And, this is kind of like, not similar to last year anyway. So, but this is going to be an official prediction. This is not an official prediction. This is simply a projection based off of how the teams performed over the weekend and how they've been performing over the course of the year. So let's get right into it here with my New Year's Six Bowl projections for week number 7. And we'll start with the playoff semifinal games from yesterday that I had in my playoff projections. In the Rose Bowl, I had Michigan and Florida State here as the number 2 versus number 3 matchup. Michigan's offense has been rolling now in the last couple of weeks. We've seen the offense, turn things around after a really slow start to the first half of the year, and it seems like, going into the second half of the year, Michigan's going to be very dominant on that offensive side of the football. Florida State, this is still one of the top teams in the ACC, but they're not really far away from some of these other ACC teams. Miami is still in that conversation, basically after a loss to Georgia Tech. You got North Carolina in that conversation. You got Louisville, who's undefeated. And then you also got, Duke in that conversation. So Florida State's not really far away from some of these ACC teams. But other than that, this is who I had in the Rose Bowl matchup. And again, you can go back and watch that video and see who I predicted to win this matchup as well. And then the other semifinal in the Sugar Bowl, I had Georgia and Oklahoma. This is a change that I made here. I have Oklahoma as my number 4 seed. They defeated Texas this past weekend. And what really surprises me about Oklahoma this year is definitely the defense. The defense has been really good this year for this Oklahoma team. And it's not just about the offense. I knew the offense would be very explosive, but defensively I thought they would have some concerns there. But defensively, this has been the story for this Oklahoma team. They look like they have a really good path to make the college football playoff now. Georgia here, also, I had them at number 1. Still no change to Georgia. I still think this is one of the top teams in the country. And they kind of proved that to me last weekend when they defeated Kentucky, this past weekend at home. They were absolutely dominant on the offensive side of the football. And then defensively, they looked really solid on that side of the football as well. So this was my number 1 versus number 4 matchup in the Sugar Bowl here in the playoff semifinal. Let's now get into the regular New Year's Six Bowl games for this year. And we'll start with the Cotton Bowl. I made a change here. I got Texas here and USC. I got Texas as the second best Big 12 team, basically after that loss to Oklahoma. But Texas was still overall pretty competitive. They made a couple mistakes there early in the game. If they probably didn't make those mistakes early in the game, I think Texas probably would have rolled away in this game. I think it would still be a really close game. But again, Texas is the second best team in the Big 12. I still think they can win out and, maybe have a rematch with the Big 12 championship. Maybe the game decides who goes to the playoff. In that rematch, if Texas and Oklahoma do meet, I think that, is the game that decides who goes to the playoff as the number 4 seed perhaps. But for Texas, I still think they get into a New Year's Six Bowl if they even win out and also go to the college, or actually, lose the Big 12 championship. USC, we've seen them inconsistent, in the last couple weeks. Colorado had started from there. They gave up 41 points in that game, and then again 41 points to Arizona. And they have just really struggled on defense, which really doesn't seem like the USC team that we kind of expected this year. But offensively, they continue to be explosive on that side of the football, and it's kind of hard to project against this USC team. So I'm going to still have them here in the Cotton Bowl. But again, if they continue to kind of perform inconsistently, this USC team might not make it to the playoff and also a New Year's Six Bowl this year. But again, they got their toughest competition, I believe, this upcoming weekend, tomorrow I should say, against Notre Dame. So again, we'll see how they play against really good competition. Moving on to the Fiesta Bowl, I've made a change here. I got Washington and Wyoming. Washington still continues to be dominant on the offensive side of the football. They've had a really tough, last couple games. Of course, they had that tough one against Arizona, which was a really tough game there. They only won that game by 7 points, and then they had that one against Cal. Cal was, not really even a close game, but Cal scored like 32 points on this Washington defense. So Washington, they've been really kind of up and down the last couple weeks, but I think they'll kind of get that momentum back going into the second half of the season. But they play Oregon tomorrow, one of the biggest games coming up tomorrow in college football in week number 7. So I think Washington will be ready for that game. And then Wyoming here, I got them in the Fiesta Bowl, the highest group of 5 team. They're coming off that upset win over Fresno State. That was a big win for them. This Wyoming team has definitely been a surprise team this year. You look at who they have beaten already. They beat Texas Tech in week 1, and then of course last week, and they defeated a top 25 team in Fresno State. So that was enough for me to put them here in the Fiesta Bowl. I know there's other group of 5 teams out there, but I do like Wyoming so far, and they do play Air Force coming up tomorrow, which definitely is going to be their toughest game because Air Force is undefeated. It's not just about the record. I think that Air Force team is really, really good. So this is who I had in my Fiesta Bowl matchup. Moving on to the Peach Bowl, no change here. I got Penn State and Oregon still. Penn State probably, tied for first right now in the Big Ten East, definitely. It was kind of a 4-way tie for the Big Ten East spot. You had Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and Maryland. But, after Ohio State defeated Maryland this past weekend, that definitely kind of, into momentum. And also the top 3 teams now belong to Penn State and Michigan and Ohio State. I think Penn State's been the most consistent team, of the 2023 season so far. We'll see how they do in the second half of the year, obviously going into this, weekend and everything. And, they had a bye week this past weekend, so there wasn't really much to talk about Penn State and everything. And then you got Oregon here. They also had a bye week this past weekend. So they'll play Washington tomorrow. Oregon looking to, get momentum going into the rest of the year. This team blew out Colorado, and that kind of told us that they had a really good defense in that game. And then also the offense just continues to be explosive. Bo Nix looks really good at quarterback, and I think he's definitely up there with the Heisman candidates with Michael Penix and also, those top quarterbacks in the country. So this is who I had in my Peach Bowl. Again, no change here in my Peach Bowl matchup between Penn State and Oregon. Let's now go to my last New Year's Six Bowl game, and that is going to be the Orange Bowl, and that is Ohio State and North Carolina. No change here. I still got Ohio State here as the second best team in the Big Ten behind Michigan. North Carolina, I also got them second, behind Florida State. Ohio State, really slow start to the first half against Maryland this past weekend, but they pulled away in the second half. We've seen offensively Ohio State struggle this year, but defensively they've been really, dominant on that side of the football. I think Ohio State has a really good chance to have a really good defense for the rest of the year. The offense still has some work to do, but I think this offense is definitely going to be better here in the second half of the season. And then for North Carolina, they were very explosive on offense against Syracuse this past weekend. They have a tough one going in, tomorrow against Miami. How does Miami bounce back after that? Really, one of the worst coaching decisions I've ever seen. Will Miami be ready to play in that game? Based off of what I saw with North Carolina this past weekend, I don't think the game's going to be close, but I think it's going to be a closer game anyway because both of these teams used to battle it out for the Coastal Division over the years. So, but again, you don't want to sleep on Louisville. If North Carolina loses this weekend, we'll put Louisville here in the Orange Bowl, but you never know what can happen. Both Louisville and North Carolina can lose some games this weekend. But again, this college football season is going to be wide open for the rest of the year since we're heading into the second half. The playoff rankings are coming out, and also pretty much, things could really change in the playoff projections as well. But this is my Orange Bowl matchup. This is a matchup I would love to see, Ohio State and North Carolina. I think defensively Ohio State would have the better defense, and then offensively it's kind of hard to tell from there. But again, this is no change here to my Orange Bowl. Again, I got the Buckeyes as the second best Big Ten East team right now, and then again North Carolina as the second best team in the ACC. So that is my Orange Bowl projection there, and those are my New Year's Six bowl games heading into Week 7 of the 2023 college football season. Again, I've made a couple changes to my New Year's Six bowls compared to last weekend. So give me your thoughts on these New Year's Six bowl games down in the comments below. And again, thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned here for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports channel.